Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, the first Monday in March, and checking in to see that we are live on LinkedIn. It's 10 a.m. Eastern, and it looks like we are going live. It's interesting the lag between the StreamYard and LinkedIn. Yeah. So it takes a couple of minutes, right? So come on in, everybody. We've got a wonderful Mind Over Matter Monday for you, and I'll sing you into the room. Come in and make a comment so we know you're here and where you're calling from. And there's Michelle. Good morning, Michelle. And here's a little music to start your day. I just love this song. So obviously I've sung it before. So come on in, everybody. I took my love, took it down. Oh, I climbed a mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Come on in. Oh boy. Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh boy, look at everybody who's here. So excited. Yay. Ah, Nevada, it's early for you. Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh, I'm getting older too. Oh, take my love, take it down. Oh, climb a mountain and turn around. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring it down? And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring it down? Oh, the landslide bring it down. Good morning, everyone. This is thank you. Thank you, Adrian. So glad that you're here and everyone is here. It's so great. So we've got a little, today our subject on Mind Over Matter is about, it's about what do we do in uncertain times, and we all have uncertain times. And honestly, we're all experiencing this right now, yet uncertain times is pretty much what our life is about. if you think about it, there's so many things that we have to find solutions for, right? Right? So today we're looking at, using the element, a character of perseverance to manage uncertainty. So to push through. And we've all done it 100 times, right? Maybe we didn't get the job, maybe we lose our job. And right now, there's a whole lot of people that are faced with that. But we're stronger. We've done this before. So we simply are going to remind ourselves how we've managed through this. And sometimes there's some really funny things. And then once you've managed it, did things really turn out better? Or did you really want to go back to where you were? So I'm going to begin. Oh, there she is. Okay. So hi, Nick. Good morning. I had gone over to read the description. So let me find where I am on this. Okay. So the first thing I like to do is to acknowledge each one of you, because I have found, in Nick too, we both found that it opens your heart, that we don't see each other very much, or we don't really know how we land for other people. We know, right, Nick? We know how we think we land, but do we really land that way for others? And I think that the acknowledgement gives you an opportunity to know, when I see you, this is what I see. And I have taught myself over the last 15 years to look for your greatness. So you'll notice that the things I see, when I see your picture, your name, or your face, I see your greatness. So, Nick, unmute for just a minute, because we've got a tumultuous, unexpected morning where she's faced. Is this a good time where you can talk? Nick?
Let me jump off a minute. I'm so sorry.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't use sorry. It's okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So, we plan this, but, stuff happens, and there are emergencies that only we can handle. Now, a lot of times people will not show up, or they'll back out. I've done it myself a long time ago. I really aspire not to do that now, to actually be where I'll say I'll be. But sometimes there's an emergency that only you can handle. And we've got that this morning. We have Nick's boiler, which is out of oil and it's freezing in New York. Plus, she has a sick dog. I mean, it's just wild. And yet she's still here. And that is perseverance. So she'll have to go off and come back on. But perseverance maps to persistence, which is the 8th principle of success, of Carnegie's principles of success. Very few people will persevere regardless of the obstacles and challenges to achieve their word. So while she's doing that, I just love this picture of her. So let me say hello to each of you and tell you who you are for me. And here is Michelle Bodenhorn, very often, the first one here, always a huge support. And what I love about you, Michelle, is the fact that you keep the comments going. Each one of us has this thing that we like to do. We don't have to do everything to support other people, but we have our favorites. So Michelle keeps the comments coming, and that really matters to me. It helps with our numbers and our algorithm, and it shows that she's really engaged. So I really appreciate that about you, Michelle. Thank you. And then here is Adrian. The thing that Adrian does is repost. She's always here. And her thing is, when she sees something that has high value, she reposts it to her network. You don't even have to say anything. That takes about 4 seconds to do that. So what if that was the only thing you did? Because I got to tell you, Adrian, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And Michelle is in Nevada. And Adrian, you're in New Jersey, so you're up there pretty close to where Nick is, and it's cold and they don't have any oil. So they're working on that this morning, right? And here's Jenny Gold, sweet, soft spoken, present, always with something eloquent to say. Jenny, thank you for being here. And here's my buddy, Deb Haas, and your buddy too. She and I have both done Landmark Education's work. If you don't know what that is, it was originally EST, started by Werner Erhard in the 1960s in San Francisco. And actually, Deb, I worked 4 floors above that original meeting, and I could hear them jumping up and down and screaming and chanting through the different stories. And now our friend Noni Varani lives in that building. Small world, isn't it? So thank you for being here. I just love it when we get to talk Landmark. And there's Michelle again. She's saying hello. Ah, look at this. Here's Tracy. Tracy is one of the smartest people on LinkedIn, and she's teaching the art of war, if you can imagine, right? I just love that about her. She has a lot of experience in a lot of different areas that you would never know. So when you get to know, since I've gotten to know you, Tracy has helped me navigate something difficult. And I waited a long time to ask her, and she came through like a champ. So thanks, Tracy. I remember when you're kind. And there's Christy Williams. Christy is an amazing customer service professional. She and Nick and I and a whole bunch of people here are in the 2350 network, which is a platform for personal development and high value events that we are participating in that was created by Damien Kinsey and Dr. Tanya Farran. I mean, Christy is another person who really expands your value by reposting, and she also comments too. So that is so helpful. And Christy, you know how much I appreciate you. I always try to acknowledge you. So each person, every one of you that's here is a support, right, to me. So and I'm not going to show all the comments. I simply want to acknowledge each of you. Melanie Richards is a new friend, and I attended one of her off-platform events, and it was wonderful. So Melanie, thank you for being here. I think this may be the first time, and this is Mind Over Matter Mondays. This is where the matter is our automatic reactions, limiting beliefs, and fears. The mind part is your conscious awareness and your ability to strengthen your intellectual faculties so that when you want to go do something that you've never done before or you failed at, that you're not afraid. And most everybody is afraid and they give up. So let me just take a break here. So what's going on, Nick? You got a minute to talk?
Sure, it would appear that every time I get myself off of mute, my husband decides to call.
Of course. I told them that you've got boiler issues, doggy issues, and this is so perfect because, you said, well, what do I do? Because really is an emergency, right? It's freezing.
Well, I gotta say, you do what you have to do. That's life. You roll with the punches. And hopefully you roll with the punches
Yeah.
and you don't, completely lose it. But yes, puppy has been sick for about a week and a half now. And the antibiotics and steroids, I really can't see if they're helping. So after the show, we'll be back to the vet again as we were last Monday. And at my back, the oven is open at 400 degrees.
Oh, your oven. Your oven is what's keeping you warm. I
And
love
well,
it.
we have a floor heater, in the bedroom,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's just really odd. At 9 o'clock last night, I was in the basement with my husband. He had a flashlight down the opening, and I'm there with the phone, and we could see in the video that the tank is bone dry. We had a delivery of 150 gallons of oil on February 18th.
So
Uh,
that's 3 weeks away, 3 weeks from
we
now.
have a 625 square foot house. That's it. No finished basement. I mean, it takes us 2 to 3 months to go through that. So we're in a very iffy situation right now.
I understand. And now you can hear Pokey in the background. I know, but I want you to understand, everybody, like, this is, most people would simply back out, but not Nick. And so here's the thing. Perseverance is the rare person who, in the face of difficulty or obstacles, persists to completion. It's rare. So I really appreciate you, Nick. And let me finish up on this. And I really appreciate Nick because, well, she could have just jumped out of here easily. She's got a sick dog and freezing and a husband trying to get oil in the tank. So it's like a Monday morning catastrophe. But what do? We look for the solutions. That's it. And we don't need to be in anxiety because we've been around long enough to at least begin deductive reasoning about, well, what is there that needs to be done? So let me continue here, acknowledging you, and then we'll get right into this. Um, uh, Oh, Deb. Okay, I see you're here, and so we'll bring people up at 10:30. I hope you don't mind waiting in the studio. Hang on and let me send a pool boy in with a cool drink for you, Deb, while you're in the studio. We treat our studio guests very nicely. So we've got a mimosa. We have two kinds of mimosas. One has alcohol and one doesn't. So when he gets there to you, you tell him what you want for being the first in the studio. Okay. Sandra is a new friend, and she bought my book Errata and took a great picture of of herself reading it. And there's some exciting news. Finally, the audiobook is published. I've got to go in and check the pricing, but now you've got Kindle, print, and audio, which is perfect because book 2 will be coming out in the spring. So you'll want to, if you don't want to read and you want to listen, it's only an hour and a half. So it's perfect for a ride somewhere. You know what I mean? It really is. All right. Let me go on with this. This is good news. By the way, let me just tell you, getting this audiobook produced was like having a baby. I'm telling you, there were more labor pains with this. I just wasn't going to give up. Okay, so look who's here, Taisha. Gosh, I haven't seen you in a while. So glad you're here. It's kind of chilly up where you are, too, in the Great Lakes area. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you accepted our invitation to be here today. And I get to tell you some wonderful things about yourself. And that's really the best part. Let me just make sure it's a little hard to catch these, but I don't want to miss anybody. Rachel is here. Hi, Rachel. Rachel is a new author, best-selling international author, and we were in a book together, and Nick is the publisher. Rachel, thank you so much for being here. I know that you have a very busy business, and it'll be our intention for you to walk away, all of you, that this was the best 45 minutes you could have invested in this morning, that you walk away with plenty of good value. That's the point. So thank you, Rachel, for being here. That's our intention. And here's Ashif Haji. Let's see, Toronto. Each of us lives only in the present, this brief moment. The rest is either a life that is past or is an uncertain future. Yes, Marcus Aurelius. I dated him when I was much younger, by the way. And we can... Well, we've got to keep it funny too, right? Ashif is what I call him Rumi in Reincarnated. I don't know how reincarnation works, but he typically doesn't write this many words. Usually there's 3, right? He's very profound. So I'm glad that you extrapolated today, Ashif. And thank you for being here. I know how busy you are. Now, let me just double check. Thank you for all the comments. And one of the things I would really love for you to do is there are 3 dots at the bottom of your screen. You can view the event details and share this, if you will. And then if you have any questions or need clarification, or you have an insight, something that came up for you, mark it in the comments, because people will listen to this again. And not only will they hear what we've discussed here live, but they're going to see your comments. And then be sure that you're following everybody in this group, and then perhaps connect with them. That would be the next thing to do. But personally, connecting for me is I want to go look at your profile a little bit before I connect, but I'm okay to follow pretty much anybody, right? So Lisa, good morning. It's Lisa Fevick, and Lisa is part of the virtual wellness experience that a number of us are involved in, March 21st and 22nd online. And Lisa is one of the speakers. She is a registered dietitian and helps women during the menopause decades, which it can be decades, about what to eat, right? To alleviate the hot flashes and the other 99 symptoms. Who knew there were over 100? I'm sure that I had at least half of them. I didn't know anything about it. So that's Lisa is, looks at food and what foods can support you. But what she talks about is just smart eating anyway, foods that are good for you. So I think that that is really an important thing. And here is Marissa. Hey, Marissa. Marissa was part of one of the anthologies that we did last year, last Q4. And I got to know her. She's lovely. Marissa, thank you so much for being here. And I know Nick really appreciates that too. Oh, let's see. That which you resist persists. Anywhere you're experiencing frustration, look at what you're resisting. Boy, that sounds like something I learned in Landmark too. What we resist persists. So if you choose the crap, it's not a big deal. Like one of the things I did when I was married, and I learned, Deb, about this particular distinction, is that there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times. So rather than having anxiety over the bad times, what I used to say is, I chose him exactly as he is and exactly as he isn't. I made a decision to choose this. Choosing is powerful. Resisting just makes it worse. You just think about it over and over and over again. So thanks for that. That's really lovely. Here's our lovely friend, Platine. Hi, Platine. Platine helped me learn to train my ear to understand different languages and accents, because we talk with people all over the world all the time. And there are so many different accents and different languages that sometimes you don't really understand what they're saying. But Platine is very patient. So Platine, I really appreciate you. You trained my ear to be patient and to actually comprehend and listen to what you're saying. So I love that. And then here we have Oluwasi. This is a fellow Sagittarian. He and I both can't stop talking. So we both tend to go on, but we just have a lot to say. Right, Olu? And, it used to annoy me, but then I realized it annoyed me because I do it. So I've decided to embrace your articulation and my own, and to try not to, but you've taught me an awful lot, Olu, and I'm just so glad to see you this morning. It's been a few weeks since I've seen you and we've seen you. All right, let me just make sure that I've got everybody. Bim, thank you. I don't think we've met. yet, and I'm so glad you're here. Please reach out to me and let's look at each other's profile and let's see if we are good for connecting with each other and helping each other. Okay, so that covers everybody who's here so far. I'm so thrilled that you are. Let me see how I turn this off. Jeez, there we go. Okay, perfect. It's quite something when you're off camera and I'm singing and there's comments and am I live? And so one of the things about these is getting really proficient technically so that you can focus on the content, right? So today, what we're going to talk about is the difficult situation that many of us have observed, certainly in the United States. And I don't want to get into a political discussion, but I do know that there's a lot of uncertainty, right, Nick? There is a lot of uncertainty. And, we've all had that. And we're looking for experiences when, you didn't get the job. What did you do? Or you lost your job and were blindsided unexpectedly. Did you resist? Or were you able to, how long did it take you to say, this would be mind over matter? Okay, well, maybe they don't appreciate me anymore. And now that I'm gone or I didn't get this job, I can go somewhere else where they really appreciate my skills rather than sitting in, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the fear of poverty, right? Which is one of 6 basic fears. And it's real. So there is a fear there. This is where mind over matter comes in, strengthening our intellectual faculties. So in this instance, what you can do is remind yourself how freaking good you are at what you do and how they no longer appreciate you and you're going somewhere that appreciates how really cool you are because you are all those things. But in the face of fear and worrying about, well, how am I going to get the paycheck? That's a really big fear. It outweighs your smarter strategic side. But with practice, you learn to reframe to find the polar opposite. So we're looking at, the experiences of when we didn't get the job. And then when we reflect on it, was it worth all the aggravation? Was it better to move on and to find something new and refreshing and creative? Or do we really want to go back to where we were? So in today's times, we can be supportive to our friends and do what we can. And there's movements everywhere that you can join. It doesn't take a lot to stand for what you believe in. And if you believe the way it's going, you can stand for that. If you believe it's going another way, you can stand for another way. So let's open this up. And wait a minute, Deb, where did you go? Okay, we'll come back in because we're almost ready for you. I hope you didn't get interrupted. So, Nick, unmute and talk to us about an example or where your mind goes when you think of persevering in difficult, challenging times. You've had a few, I'm sure, right? Look at those eyes. So, why don't you lead us off? Now, I've reached out to several of you. We would love to hear a way that you manage finding a solution and making a choice to move forward even in the most difficult times. So please, my friend, take it away, and I will put the link in the comments of the event. Hey, Nick, how are you? Do we have a moment where we can hear from you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm not just there for my good looks. Listen, oh goodness gracious, what a morning. But I love the topic, and I was telling Leslie, um, it's funny how the universe works. This is the topic today, and this is exactly what I'm experiencing this morning.
Perfect.
Um, and again, it just speaks to my recent past because I made a huge decision and stepped away from my job and stepped into running, guiding brilliant writers. And this is a very uncertain time, as it is for most. Still, you think, oh boy, you're going into entrepreneurship, people are losing their jobs. Where are you going to find clients? How are people going to afford to come and work with you, for example? Um, I will tell you that I'm a person that typically isn't fearful. To start there. Or if I am, I tend to push through. But I think a lot of that comes from my past and having been in those types of fearful situations where it was almost life and death. Life and death meaning if I didn't push through it, food wasn't going to be on the table as a single mom for my son and myself, or rent wasn't going to get paid on time. So when you are compelled to push through fear because of something that you just cannot do without, it's different. Now, when you have to stay motivated and strong to push through fear of something that, let's say, you don't necessarily need, but you want, it's more difficult. So, did I need the income from my business? No, I had a job. I chose, though, to step away. And yes, I have to embrace the fear. But I am also very good at visualizing and manifesting. And that has helped me incredibly. In the 3 weeks this has been happening, the opportunities just keep pouring in. Um, and I do feel with every bump, some take me a little longer to get over, but I know I'm getting over it. I don't care. And I do get over it. And every time I get over it, there is something else there waiting for me to pick up, like in Super Mario Brothers. Pick this up, pick that up, reach to the end, I have all my treasures, and it's just coming one after the other. In the space of making this decision, my entire year is booked out. And
Yes. Forgive me for interrupting you, but look, here's the thing. You cause the opportunities. Whether you're aware of it, of exactly how it works yet or not, you couldn't have taken any of those opportunities while you were working full time. But what were you doing? You were planting the seeds for a publishing company. You didn't know that when you started. You just wanted to publish these books. You had been in books that you'd been published in, and you wanted to try your hand at it. You have a much bigger vision now that you're an entrepreneur, but there wasn't time for that. But what happens is, and like, by the way, Chris Pinadella is in the studio, and I'm so glad he's here. We'll have you up here in just a minute, Chris. We're talking about managing, because I know you were in a meeting first, managing ourselves and being persistent and persevering when unexpected things happen. And, we lost a job, we didn't get a job, something like that. So what happens is that your cause in the matter, Deb, you should like that one. So we are actual co-creators. So as you're putting out all this great energy, Nick, into the universe, helping all these people, some 60 people are now best-selling international co-authors. Come on, right? That's a lot of good. That's a lot of karma. Also, there's a lot of very high vibration of kindness and love and generosity. So, as far as I know, the last quarter of last year, you were filled with those feelings. These weren't emotions, these were feelings of helping people. And you actually gave way more than any publisher that I've ever seen. Like, in my view, it was almost too much, but that's who you are. So as soon as things lined up and you took the big leap, for whatever the reason, now you start to see all those things. You wouldn't even have noticed them if you were still working full time. Those opportunities would have walked right by you to somebody else because there's other people publishing. So if someone wanted to publish, they could find a place to publish. But you were the cause in this. So the reason that you're flooded is because you're the source, because you filled up your karmic bank account to the extent that you can barely breathe now. You're looking at Q1 2026. Does this make sense? No. Well, you're on mute. So
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And now my puppy's not coughing, he's crying. Oh my
oh
goodness
my
gracious.
God.
But I do want to share one really quick thing. You
Okay.
know, even in the presence of all this success, and I say success, yes, because it's not the business. The business will come. I have no doubt of that. It's the constant reassuring that I'm getting that I'm on the right path. That's very important to me. And it's not coming only through the support of my friends and my family and my puppy that's coughing and sharing with me. It's I had a dream last night and it caught me by surprise, Leslie. I always dream of my mom, whose name was Leslie, who passed away 7 years ago. I always dream of her alive. And my sister always tells me I'm so lucky because she doesn't dream about mom. But every time I dream about mom, we're together, shopping, in the kitchen, whatever, we're laughing. Last night I woke up about 2 o'clock and I actually woke my husband and I told him, I just had the strangest dream. I dreamt of three dead people. He flew out of his sleep. He said, What? Well, the three dead people were my mom, her elder sister, who's a year apart, and my stepfather, her partner for life. And we were all in the kitchen laughing and talking, and she was baking bread as she always did. And I got up and I went to the bathroom after, and I walked into the bathroom. I might have been half asleep, but I swear to you, with every fiber of my being, I smelled my mother's perfume. And I sat down and I started to cry because it was as if my loved ones were reaching out and telling me it's going to be okay.
Of course.
Just just believe. Anyway,
Yes.
thank you for
Yes.
letting me share that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was just a beautiful story. And look, we don't want to go there where we would lose a job. We don't like to think about those things, but when we're faced with it, we are resilient. We have done it before. We don't have to know how. We have to know why. What is it that compels us? That's all we need. So, without further ado, I want to bring up our friend Chris Pinadella, new friend to me. Hey, Chris, how are ya?
I'm doing well. Good morning. How are you?
I am doing great. What's it like up? You're up in New Jersey, right?
Yes, I am. I actually have the week off, recovering from a little illness. So just enjoying the weather here on the beach, trying to recover and enjoy the atmosphere. So I'm beachfront here in New Jersey, and I'm excited to join the show.
Well, thank you, Chris. So we're with, I like to hear funny stories, but stories about when we were blindsided and we lost a job that we really loved and what we did, right, to get past the sadness and to actually look at it as an opportunity. And did we really end up better? Because my experience is that I always feel like, the old way, because I'm used to doing it, is my comfort zone. And so it's a little scary to go out and do something new. But I always find that that new thing is better than what it was. So I really love to hear a little bit about this is a very tenuous time for the United States and the world. What can we do to calm ourselves, to remind ourselves that we can choose another way to think? So please take it away, my friend, and thank you.
That's a lot all in one question.
It is,
So
it is.
let's start with jobs. In terms of going from job to job, I've come from pharmaceuticals, med device, copier sales way back when, even a company called Broadridge years ago. Um, you know, I almost look at transition at least in my industry, because it's so frequent with patent life coming to end for drugs, or where the company's marketing decides to put their initiatives, they cut teams with absolutely no justifications whatsoever. So, I use these turbulent times as excellent networking opportunities. The people I always look for, the people who navigate the turbulence with grace, the people who rely on one another, who are slingshot one another to each other's managers as they're finding new and different roles in different industries. And honestly, it's one of the better times you can ever network. You really could figure out who's got your back, and you can build something really solid. And who knows, like as I'm working towards building an organization myself right now, I'm looking through some of those old contacts of people who were there for me, and I know those are people that would run through a wall for me, and vice versa. And I'm considering them for something that might not be something we worked on in the past, but we can work on together in the future. And then in terms of how we can prepare just to look at the world in a different way right now, like if you follow my feed, like you guys obviously know where I stand. I'm not really a fan of all the things that are happening in government, but I'm happier than I've ever been. And that's the truth. And that's just because I had a plan a long time ago. It started in last April for this eventuality. Every change brings opportunity. And if you just learn how to look for the opportunity in what's going to be different, where people are going to be looking for help, that's your opportunity right there. So focus on that. Where, everybody's, what do they say about gold mining? When everybody's going to mine gold, sell shovels and buckets, because you're right? Like, so that's where you really want to focus, is you don't follow where the crowd's going, follow what they're going to need and supply that. So there's a lot of people trying to do what we're doing here. The people in the background who run these shows, that's a great opportunity to be the person in the chair who would run a show like this. I know I'm looking for one, so it's like, there's just opportunity everywhere, and this is like truly a creator economy at this point. So all you really
Yes.
have to do is find something that you can bring of value to your audience. And I see it happen all the time on LinkedIn, where there's these shows and there's people that just genuinely enjoy community and they get together. And who's to say there's not value in just creating something with one another on a show like this, exchanging value. And sometimes
Mhm.
just like, if you connect, I forget, Joshua Only, like, was a guy I've lost touch with recently. I would love to reconnect with him, but if I could get him to like write a personal song and like pay him money and like have something like that little personal treasure from having met him over time, that's a way to create a new economy right there. And that way you could do it in regions where it doesn't really matter what you actually have in the ground or around you. You can create value anywhere on earth through arts and culture.
Yes, yes, and let me just catch you up on Onley. Joshua Onley and I are friends, and
Mhm.
he has been very ill, right?
Oh,
So that is why you haven't heard from him. Um, that's
please send him my
that's
best. I'm gonna reach out.
yes, yes, and he will respond, but he has been unwell. And that's actually, I'm so grateful that Nick has joined us, because Paulette was my co-host, and she has been facing a particular illness. So do we freak out? No. I guess the question is here, what is it that has us make the transition in our thinking from, oh, woe is me, right? So this is a really good example of the action that you can intentionally take if this happens to you. And I think networking is a really, really good one. Nick, what would you think about this? Are you cough free?
No, I'm not cough free. Well, at least
Okay.
cough isn't. But I do want to come on. First of all, Christy shared a lot there that I really respect and resonate with.
Yeah.
Um, it makes me feel that I could think of times where things went south, and I was greatly upset. And for a while, all I did was worry and make myself sick over it. And the next thing to come was something greater, and that has been the pattern. And it's even something my husband and I were discussing. Uh, when I said, I'm going to make a bold move here. Something happened, and I'm not terribly happy about it. And I feel like this is the moment that's telling me cut the ties and go live your dreams. It was a risk, and I reminded him, and he agreed. Every single time something happened throughout the course of our relationship, external, that is right, a job, an external relationship with someone else, or anything like that, um, it turned into a much better situation after. And I think being hit with it as much as I have, and so many of us are, some learn and some don't. And I learned, and he even said to me, "You have changed so much in this past year. You're still you, but your outlook is very different. You are calm. You don't, freak out about things." And I said, "I can't. You know, it drained the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I got tired of crying. I got tired of standing with my back against the wall, feeling I had to fight my way out. Now I sit on the couch, and does it worry me? Of course. Do I take the steps I need to hope to rectify? Yes. But I also accept that everything in its time, and in its time.
Yeah, yeah, that is, so it's practice. When you say it's the practice, and the question is when you're blindsided with this, how long does it take you to realize, to Chris's point, that really in every failure there is a lesson? This is the law of polarity. And one of the things that I teach are the universal laws, along with the principles of success. And I found that once you understand how the universe gifts us with those 7 laws, the one we're talking about now is one that we can always count on them, the law of polarity. So intellectually, we know when we have a negative thought and a fear, there is another way to look at it. I think intellectually, most of us could appreciate that there is a lesson in failure. Yet our belief about failure doesn't leave room for growth. It's a bad thing and we don't want it. And all our lives, a lower grade meant a certain thing. So I'll give you a quick example of this particular thing that happened to me, the same kind of thing, where I worked for startup companies and I was the only executive assistant. So I helped raise money, different rounds of funding, liaised with the board members, reviewed all the materials. Like that was my job. And there was a coup in one of the startups, and I worked in several startups where there's a lot of money coming in, and to get that money to expand the business. And I remember there was a board meeting, and I was at one end of the office suite. The board meeting was at the other end. The board members were there, and the CEO came up to me and said, "Leslie, I just want you to know that there's a coup going on right now." Now, I was by the door, so I listened in to what was going on the other side of the suite, and I heard that they were getting rid of me, right? So they were getting rid of all their C-levels, but no one came and told me. I heard it as it was being shared with everybody. I found out that my job was done, and I'm by myself listening. Now, I remember exactly what happened here. For about 5 minutes, I could feel the blood boiling, right? Rising in my ears. You're laughing. That's the laughter of recognition, like, vroom, vroom, vroom. And this is like instinct. This is the matter, right? No control. It's like I've just been screwed big time, right? Very unhappy. But in about 5 minutes, I realized I'm really yes, yes, I'm really good at what I do, and it's very clear that they no longer appreciate how good I am, and I really am. I was good at this. I helped them raise millions of dollars. But I reminded myself, it was the conscious mind, the strategic mind that said, "Wait a minute. There's another side to this." In this instance, it took 5 minutes for that to calm down. Now, it could take weeks for people. When I was younger, it would take days. I'd be miserable for days. But there was like this light bulb moment, and I said, "Wait, this is a gift. I get to go work for somebody else who's excited to work with me, that I can really make this difference. And do I really want to be here with these people that no longer appreciate me? No." So when the meeting was over, I have to tell you, I was calm. I was actually excited. And everybody came out, all the engineers, and they said, "Leslie, are you okay?" Because they knew that I was listening to me losing my job. And listen, all the other a lot of people lost it that day. And I said, "No, guys, I'm good. I'm really kind of excited about what's next for me." So what is it? And Chris, I'll ask you this. So what is it that has us take over the reaction of fear, which is very well versed, right? Fears and those reactions are stronger than our logical mind. How is it that you move from this place of anxiety and really occupied by fear? Fear of poverty is a big one, that has the strategic mind take over and go, "Hold on a second, because there's two things going on here." Chris, please.
Yeah, so I can only speak to how I view it personally.
Of course.
And if any of you read any of my articles, like I'm a bit of a dork, a bit of a nerd, and I always kind of just refer to like some like comic book superhero reference type thing that I go to in my head. And when I sense fear, I understand what or anxiety or stress. I know what my emotions are signaling. It's a threat to something that I want. I don't know how it's threatening what I want or what exactly that I want that it's threatening. So my first step is to figure out, why is this scaring me? What is it stopping me from doing? Why is it making me act irrationally immediately? Because I'm never normally irrational, so that's not right. All right, so let's calm down, let's breathe, let's get rational, let's figure out what it's preventing me from getting to, what my real desires are, and then I picture myself almost like Neo in the Matrix or something, and I'm like, all right, that is whatever, dodging that one, getting away from it, redirecting energy over here. Forget this, don't have time for that. I'll explain that one later. I don't care. For me, I focus and prioritize on what I know is right for me and those around me that matter most, and trying to do like an all and lift all boats approach. When you do that, sometimes there's collateral damage, and people will get annoyed during the process, but they always tend to see in the long run that there was a greater picture involved. But no matter how many times you explain it to people that the way you're always going to operate is beneficial for everyone, they won't understand it when they're kind of seeing short-sighted goals. So I just work and react the way I know best how to, and that's how to adapt and survive, based off of my strategic insights. And nobody's going to know what your hearts and your goals and your desires are. Like, nobody's going to want them as much as you do. So if you don't put that stuff for you 100%, if you don't make that your focus, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick, anything you'd like to share? This is really good. And listen, folks, the link is in the comments. Come talk with us. Nick, anything you'd like to share?
Listen, this conversation could go back and forth all day. Just too many golden nuggets there. Flip the script, change the narrative. I like to remind myself to go back to a time or two where I faced something more difficult than what I'm facing now, and look where I am. I try to remind myself of gratitude. There was a time when I took a bus and a train everywhere. I didn't have a car. And, I ended up, because of the work I was doing on my feet, getting a sciatica. And one day I had to leave. The bus driver had to come out of his seat. He knew me because he picked me up all the time and help me up the stairs because I couldn't get up, and then help me back down. And then when I got home, I would normally have 3 blocks to walk home. I called my son. He was school age. He walked up and met me halfway, and I hobbled home on his shoulder. And now, when I'm driving my nice truck with my AC on and my music blasting, and the whole nine, I remind myself that I worked to get here and worked to have this, and how grateful I am to be in this space, to have this. And it's something material I'm mentioning, I guess, but it's not the material thing. I remind myself that I was that 19-year-old that told her mom I'm leaving my job, threw my clothes in a suitcase, you know, sold what little things I had, changed it for $100 US, got on a plane, and never looked back. So I remind myself, you are so much more. You are still that person, but now you are that person with 30 more years of experience. Make
Mhm.
that count for something.
Mm.
So I look forward to getting to know you so much better.
Yeah, yeah, this is really, really good. Oh, you muted yourself again, but you're
On purpose, I was going to shut up now.
so really in my work, what I've been doing for the last 25 years, in particular 15, is understanding the power of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And that mind is an activity, it's a cellular activity. When you are thinking something negative, you're literally lowering your cellular vibration, which is out of kilter with our natural way. We're built for love and generosity and gratitude. So when one of these things happens where you when something unexpected happens that upsets your apple cart, right? This is where you want to try to catch and realize that that is a low vibration. Your whole body drags. In fact, negative thinking or fearful thinking will make you sick. It literally puts your body into dis-ease. So this work is about understanding, okay, so what is this law of polarity? I need to prove to myself that for every up, there's a down. Now, that's true. You may not understand why or how that's true, but obviously you don't have to know. So once you employ and really understand the seven laws and the principles of success, you realize that there's not a lot to worry about. And you can choose to be happy. That's what we're doing. We are intentionally choosing to look for the other side, look for the good. Chris, you look like you have something you want to say.
No, no, no. I was just getting comfortable.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, no. Everything you guys are saying is phenomenal. Uh, there's not much I really have to add. It's I would kind of just harken back to again my own personal experience. I was, believe it or not in the best place 2 years ago, and you know, I just had a mindset shift. Where I had the whole world I thought was against me. Everything that happened wrong, wasn't my fault. The whole world had happened to me. And whether or not any of that was true or not, it kind of just became irrelevant to me. At the end of the day, I was just in this place I didn't want to be, and what I was doing wasn't working. And I just went, all right. So I reassessed my life. I almost looked at myself as a corporation. I said, I have this many assets left. what can I do? How can I reallocate them and build something back up? I've got a pretty strong foundation here. I've learned a lot in pharmaceuticals. I've learned a lot in medical devices. I didn't like the way a lot of things were going in my life, with some of my moral compass things that I have going on in my own heart.
Mhm.
Having to work in hospitals during COVID, being forced into there, seeing bodies in refrigerator trucks, how depressed it got me. I worked for a terrible organization back then, that was just brutal, absolutely brutal. And I was just, I almost didn't go back into the medical field as a result of it. I had to take some serious time to reflect. And when I came out of it, that's when I decided back in this April, finally, after soul searching, to kind of change the medical field, to kind of change the medical industry and do it in a fair and ethical way. And that's why I founded the organization. And honestly, finding an opportunity in chaos is kind of how I've platformed myself in so many ways. It's just, I've done it in minor ways to like find, get to job. And now I'm like, well, job to job's enough. I want a career. And no, now I don't want more than a career. Now I want a legacy more than anything else in the world. Like I want to leave a lasting impact on this planet. And once I decided that, everything else has been cake.
Got it. That's got it. Nick, did you have something you wanted to say? You gave me the high sign. No. Okay. I just, no, it's, so it's the continual learning and practicing, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
Um, and to what Nick was saying, to remind yourself, and what I realized in those few minutes, that there's this whole new opportunity, right? To, as you said, Chris, in the beginning, to network, to meet people. For Nick, all of a sudden, these tremendous opportunities. So any fear of poverty, which would be natural when you leave a permanent job, whether it's intentional or by surprise, it is very normal, right? It's to be overwhelmed by the fear of poverty. We can't afford it. Yes, Nick, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you put your hand up at the same time too? Oh, I'm
I
seeing.
just have one quick point, and then I'm going to turn it over to 100% to you. Like, when the freedom that comes with recognizing that losing a job right now is probably the most liberating thing that'll ever happen in your life if you do it the right way, is incredible. I know that right now everything, the horizon seems fuzzy and crazy and AI is everywhere, but it's not hard to learn. And if you position yourself well with something you're passionate in and you just learn the basics, you're going to experience an entirely brand new life if you navigate this correctly right now. You're at the perfect spot to be in a turbulent spot right now. Don't fear it, embrace it.
I love it. Nick.
Yeah, learn, and like you say, learn the basics. Who knew that I would do this? It was 2 years of doing everything part time. I had no idea in the first year that I would make a couple of bucks, and the second year I would make a couple of bucks more, and then that I would get to a point where I left this job that I loved, and I still love the place. I still would be my first choice to go back. But I am, every day that's gone by in these last 3 weeks, I have, there's such happiness and excitement in me. And it's not that I am thinking, oh gosh, the savings are going to run out if I don't start bringing income in. Of course, that part's there. But, I could go out and hustle. I could drive Uber. I could do something, whatever. The point is, I want this. And I want this for my future. I want this for my son. I want this for all the people whose stories I will put out there. And there are a couple of things talk to me. And when I get excited, I talk fast. I'm sorry. You can see Leslie's face. Slow down.
No, it's good to be excited.
Yeah,
I
it is.
when I think of doing the fact that a lot of people are doing the same things, not just publishing, everything, right?
Mhm.
You gotta have that attitude of make it yours. Put your personal spin on it. There's an audience for everything. Your audience will find you. And when you said do things the ethical and transparent way, I'm constantly changing the way I'm doing things. And one of the things I decided recently, and I asked the group to keep it kind of quiet, but you know what? I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't matter If I set a precedence and it's followed, am I concerned that a competitor might pick up my idea, or am I
Yeah.
happy that the people who might work with the competitor will benefit, right? Because I learn from my competitors, right? So why should I look at them as anything bad? This next book coming, we choose to be more than our diagnoses. Uh, and Sharon's in it, Deb's in it, uh, Rachel's in it, Marissa. So there are a few people here that are in that, right? And there are a whole host of diagnoses, including mine, bipolar. But I made the decision that as a publisher, I make my money up front. I'm very transparent. I'm the one doing your editing, your formatting, your publishing, your promotion. I charge. But you don't make a lot on the sales. But I decided the first quarter sales of every book that I publish moving forward, that's an anthology, and Sharon's smiling because she knows the royalties would be split between the co-authors and have nothing to do with me. Why? That's their work in there.
Yeah. And that's the karmic bank account, and that's being heart-centered. And I love that. And I brought Sharon up here because I saw her come into the studio, and there were two kinds of mimosas. I'm not sure which one she picked, whether she picked the alcoholic one or not. Doesn't matter. We don't need to know which one she took, what she chose, but we always treat our guests in the studio very well. So, Sharon, let me thank Chris. Chris, you're welcome to stay. You can continue with us. And Sharon, what's coming up with you in terms of navigating unexpected circumstances and how we mind over matter it? How do we catch ourselves and not feel sad and not feel like a victim? Because sometimes these things, I mean, Nick, you could have felt like a victim this morning when you've got not only no oil and it's freezing, but you've got your puppy who is, we thought was getting better, isn't better. So, I mean, like, these are adverse circumstances, unexpected, and they could make you feel like, well, is Mercury in retrograde or something? Why are all these bad things happening to me? It's what we're focusing on, because now what you've done is you've turned it around and you've begun focusing on all the wonderful things that raise your vibration and make you feel good. So, Sharon, what's coming up for you? Anything that Chris said or Nick, or talk to us?
Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. And I'm really excited to be here as always.
Thank you.
So much has come up for me, honestly, Leslie, in this entire conversation since I've been here. And I think the first thing I want to say is that in 2015, I lost my job. I was a single mom, pretty much single mom in every way, with very little support, scared out of my mind. But I took it as an opportunity after I got through all the, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because let's be honest, those thoughts come into our head. We have the choice of where we put our focus. But the mistake that I always made was thinking that if I have control over where I put my focus, that it was going to stop those thoughts from coming into my head. And it does not. I want to go on record here and say those thoughts will come into your head. You have to choose to ignore them or to tell them to go away, whatever strategy works for you. However, okay, so once I got past all the, oh my God, what am I going to do? I took it as an opportunity to do something that I had always wanted to do, which was start my own business. And here I am 11 years later. Has it been a smooth ride? Has it not had a bumpy road? Have I not still dealt with a lot of unexpected, even within having my own entrepreneurial opportunity? No, there's been a lot of ups and downs. And I'm not here to make it a Pollyanna situation where I tell you, oh my God, I'm making $10,000 a month and life is smooth sailing, because it's not, people. It's a lot of work, but I have control over my destiny. I'm not going to fire myself. That's number one. And that matters big time. But the other thing that matters is perseverance is an action. It's not just a word. So Yes, I've been knocked on my butt 1,001 times, and I'm going to be knocked on my butt 1,000,000 more. But it's not about that. It's about I get up every time. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I have a strategy that I'm going to share with all of you right here, right now. And it's worked for me for most of my life. It doesn't work all the time, but I give myself up to 24 hours to have a pity party. I don't use all the 24 hours. Huh? I don't. Oh,
We can't hear you.
I don't know why.
I'm mouthing, I'm teasing her. 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's 5 minutes for you.
Okay.
Big little panties back on.
Okay. So I give myself up to 24 hours, but I hardly ever use the 24 hours.
Right,
But I
right.
give myself that time. And then I say, whenever I'm done, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 24 hours, I say, okay, what parts of this can I control? And what am I going to do about it? And I start taking action immediately. And that completely changes everything. So one of the things that I have continued to work hard on all these years, and even today, is staying in the moment. Because when I project too far out into the future, most people who know me don't believe me when I say this, but I am really good at the negative self-talk. I can sabotage myself like that, but I don't allow myself to anymore. That's the difference. As soon as I see it coming, I get off that train and I get on the one that's going to move me forward.
I love that, Sharon. Sharon, that is really a great technique. I love that it's like over promising and no, it's over delivering and under promising, like giving yourself a day and then coming in under, right, is actually quite clever and strategic, because that's another thing that you can be, proud of yourself for doing. And I just love what you had to share about that. Chris or Nick, anything you'd like to share about what Sharon had to say? Anything come up for you? No? Chris.
Ladies
Yeah.
first, Nick. I always let the ladies go first, so I talked quite a bit.
Aw.
I'll follow up with Nick after she goes.
Thank you. Yeah, so much resonated, and I want to say I'm seeing Michelle said in there, if I can't control it, I don't try to. And that sits so well with me, because one of my taglines is Nick Never in Control. And what that actually means is taking back control by understanding when you have to let go of control, right? Because you will drive yourself absolutely crazy trying to fix something that's not within your power to fix. And to Sharon's point, I love the idea of giving yourself a timeline, if you will, because especially being bipolar, one of the reasons I think that I am able to succeed with my diagnosis is because I allow myself to feel what I feel. I acknowledge that those feelings are there. And I worked hard to build my awareness to be able to trace back what might be triggering those feelings. Then I could decide if the situation or thing that's triggering my feelings is something that is or is not within my control. So if I did something that was in my control and I created that situation, then I have to deal with it. But if I did not, then I have to let it go. I have to accept that this was a natural, perhaps built-in reaction of mine based on the trigger. But now I could comfortably say this was a trigger off of a situation that has nothing to do with me.
Chris. Yeah.
Just to piggyback, I guess to kind of answer Sharon and piggyback a little bit on what Nick just said, is know the difference between hot and radioactive. And what I mean by that is, I always use the analogy of a stove. I had to remind myself of this weekend. I was in a disagreement with my mother, and she's my kryptonite. And she's the only person that will drag this out of me any day of the week. But it's when my mom's angry, she's a hot stove, and I got to remember to stop touching the hot stove. But
I'm a hot stove too.
Right, yeah. And so I guess, but I love my mother, so she's not radioactive. But people in your life can become radioactive where they just never cool off, and no matter what, every time you go near them, or every time you go near a certain situation, it might not be a person, it could be a situation, it could be a company that you keep trying to go back to, or an ex person you used to date or something like that, or it could be a holiday you're trying to recreate with family that, like, you just had this one occasion, you keep trying to recreate this moment and you just can't get it right. Like, it's just radioactive at that point. Just stop. It's stay away from it. You can burn your hand once or twice, get a scar, learn from it, have a cool story to tell, have battle scars. They're great, but stay away from things that will kill you. Stay away from the radioactive. Stay away from the things that the more you engage with them, the angrier you get, the sadder you get, the more not yourself you become. And when you start to lose yourself, and that you're not yourself, you're not that. For me, I'm generally a chipper, like warm, outgoing, fun, smiling, walk on the beach, nobody could bother me type of person. And when I feel myself becoming the opposite, I don't know what does it, but I have to go, I have to recenter myself and just go, something in my life just got radioactive. Got to stay away from that.
I love that. I love that. I want to ask Sharon. Sharon, so you made this decision to become an entrepreneur, right? Do you? One of the questions I was curious about is, if you could go back to the other job, would you? Or are you good now with where you are? So the reason I ask you this is I remember leaving one job to go to another. And by the way, Chris, I'm heavy. I was with Burroughs Wellcome and did INDs and NDAs in neuropsychiatry and all sorts of. So I get, and have been in research. So my question to you really is it, would you go back for the security, right? Or were you okay with the uncertainty of
I,
entrepreneurship if you had the choice? So did you look back and say, gosh, I really wish that I was back there where I knew how everything worked and I really didn't want to leave that job or lose that job? Or had you chosen, even with all the problems, to be that you chose entrepreneurship and that you don't want to go back? What are your feelings on that?
I wouldn't go back to that job if you told me I would never have to worry financially again.
Okay.
And my reason for that, well, there's many, but my reason for that is I am a forward thinker,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't say this lightly. And for those of you that know me, will know that I'm not going to say this lightly. However, those that you don't might know me as well might think I'm playing a victim, but I'm not. And here's why. I experienced a lot of discrimination in the employment arena working for other people because I have a physical disability.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that even in 2025. Have we come a long way? Absolutely. Do we still have a long way to go? Heck yes. And so when I said earlier that I wouldn't fire myself and I won't fire myself, I mean that. I have had to, even within my entrepreneurship world, I have shifted in the almost 11 years I've been doing this. I have shifted a million times. I've stayed to the core of my beliefs, and it's always been the foundation of what I do. But I have had to shift. I have, quote unquote, failed, which I don't see failure as failure. I see it as a message to shift. So I have had to shift. And I'm currently shifting right now because what I realize is we evolve every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day we're making shifts. We just don't pay attention. They're natural in a sense in our everyday life. And so I became really critical of myself when I had a shift in my business. But then I realized why? We have to shift all the time. So why am I getting upset with myself when I have to shift in my business world? It makes sense. So no, I wouldn't go back because I really believe that I was put on this earth to do two things. And I believe this since I'm very young, to be a mom and to help others. I never knew how either one of those things were going to happen. I didn't worry about the how. I just went about my,
Mhm.
evolution. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I am a mom of an amazing young man who also has a diagnosis. So there's been hills and valleys there too. There's always hills
Mhm.
and valleys with parenting, but they're
Mhm.
extra layers. And I see these extra layers. Don't get me wrong. I get frustrated. Nick knows because I'll call her and be like, all right, I just don't have it in me today. And she'll talk me into, yes, you do. And but I also have learned to see all of these obstacles as opportunities.
Yes, and that's really beautiful. It's when you actually see it
Mhm.
every time, and you'll see it faster and faster. In every failure, there is a lesson, and it sounds so easy, but
It's not though.
it's not easy for the person who hasn't seen it yet.
Hmm.
Right, but it's that moment when you do. I really wanted to just take a moment here and welcome a couple of people here. Stanley Green, I'm so glad you're here. And Stanley has a wonderful program, Power Thinking Corporation, and it aligns very much with the work that I do. And he's been a guest on my Think and Grow Rich show on Fridays, where I teach the principles of success. So this is a process. And one thing that you said, Sharon, that I really, really liked here was that we're always growing. We are growing or disintegrating in our knowledge. We're either growing and we're learning and adding, or we're not, and we're just kind of slipping back. So it always cracks me up when they talk about fixed mindset. No such thing. It's not fixed, right? It's either your willingness to grow or not. One other thing I wanted to share here was what Nick had said about being in control. Look, the only thing that I've discovered in my life that we can control, there's only one thing: what we think. How frequently we think it, and the way we feel when we're thinking it. Because remember, mind is an activity, it's a cellular activity. This has scientifically been proven by Bruce Lipton, Richard Brody, where the scientists have tracked the proteins in our cells when we're in a high vibration and we're feeling really good, and there's a spring in our step. So, what we've been thinking positively, kindness, generosity, love, that's a high vibration. It affects your whole body, right? The same way that negativity does. So, we do have control of one thing. And learning, that's what this is about, is learning to dominate the reactions, which are built in. They are there. They're stronger. You've been listening to those negative voices all your life. It all started when you were 7 and 8 and you were criticized or you were humiliated or you heard repeatedly over time in spaced intervals that we can't afford it, or you were faced with COVID and losing people during COVID, the fear of illness, or someone left you or died or broke up with you. That's the fear of loss of a loved one. You've got fear of criticism, poverty, old age, and then death. All of these things we have repeated over and over and over again. They're deeply embedded and they're stronger than this conscious mind. So, this conversation is for us to see that we are stronger, that we can intend to think differently, because the only thing we can control is what we think. Chris.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Well, Chris is unmuted, so I just wanted to hear what he had to say, but we can go back over. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. When to take it a step further down, what you're taking, like almost the scientific route, you take it all the way back to the Big Bang, to where everything began. Everything, everything in this, everything in my room, everything in your room, everything in the solar system, everything in this galaxy, everything in this universe was condensed smaller than an atom. We're all literally just packets of light that are going through fields, that are communicating through photons, That's all that it is. That you hear the word quantum all the time. Quantum is just an exchange of light information. That's all that it is, and or sound in pressure vibrations. So you call it vibration. Nikola Tesla called it resonant frequency. Essentially, if you take a look at it, go take physics all the way through to its end. You know, we basically can understand like how the system of the universe works. We measured the cosmic background radiation in 2013. We noticed that instead of pure chaos, the universe actually experiences anti-entropy. So the universe is reorganizing itself, and that appears to be done by the act of observation or life itself. So we actually have a role in shaping reality. So the more
Mhm.
you understand that, and the more you embrace that you're in a system where you actually are fundamentally responsible for creating the
Yeah,
universe
yeah,
through your choices,
yeah.
acknowledge the power in that alone. Like all of the billions and trillions and quadrillions of things that would have to have happened for you to be there, for us to be sitting in this moment, in this nanosecond, having this exchange. So many choices, so many perfect things had to have happened just to get to this moment. Embrace it, center in that moment, and spring forward for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And you don't have to understand it 100% to know it's working because you are causing the matter. Look what happened with Nick and the flooding of people that are coming in. They just didn't all of a sudden decide, right? This was something she caused through her vibration. That's a really deep subject, and I'd like to get into that. And I want to welcome Sandra. But before we do, hey, Sandra, I'm so glad you're here. I want to hear the last thing that Sharon said because we're getting very close to the end. And then,
I'm gonna make it really quick because I want Sandra to be able to speak because I know she won't.
yes, I do too.
So, all I wanted to say is, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. It's about perseverance, but one of the things with perseverance is, and I've done this most of my life, I stopped looking for, okay, I didn't stop looking for opportunities, but I stopped solely looking for opportunities that were already out there, and I began to create my own. And I'm still doing that in this very moment. So I want to encourage anybody out there, keep looking for the opportunities that already exist, but also get adventurous. It's scary, but it's fun. Create your own opportunities. We all have skills and abilities that are unique to us. And if you don't know what your abilities are, if you're struggling to really connect with what your gifts are and what your skills and abilities are, then have a conversation with any one of the million people like myself and Leslie and Nick who are out there who can help you do that, because it really is liberating. And that's really all I wanted to share. So I'm going to
Thank
turn the
you.
mic over to you, Leslie.
No, great, great, great. I am so grateful to all of you. Sandra, unmute. What's on your mind? You got a few minutes here. Tell us, what
I will
are
be
you
quick.
thinking?
All right, I will be quick. Thank you so much. I'm excited for this conversation. Sorry, I don't put my camera on because I'm not ready.
That's all right. I took mine off too.
All right, sharing about the time when I was blindsided, I want to share something. This was when I was working in corporate America. On 2024, I had submitted my third application for a role, and I was going through the interview process, right? I was feeling very excited about that. And I shared with one good friend my excitement. And I was surprised when she told me the role was already given to someone. I feel fooled because I was being interviewed for a role that they have already offered to somebody else. And of course, I later received the rejection after my interview. They didn't offer me any feedback. For the first time, I decided to advocate and for myself, and I requested a meeting to know why I was rejected for this role. And in the meeting, they told me that I have failed to provide an example for one of the questions. And so I was calm and I asked, even I was furious inside me because I know I'm being fooled, right? I know the role was already given to someone. So I was very angry inside, but I was calm and I asked, what question I like to know what was the question that I failed to provide an example. And they couldn't answer that question. They hesitated, they got nervous, and they told me they will get back to me, which they never did. So I was devastated for that experience, but it was also an awakening for me. I realized that I have finally spoken up, right? I was able to advocate for myself instead of accepting just the rejection without saying a word, which was what I usually had done in the past. Um, and soon after that, I realized that I was much more than what they were valuing for.
Mm.
That I wanted to create my own opportunities. And I really, something that I learned from that moment is that I needed to create my own belonging. That belonging is not something that I needed to ask for, but I needed to create it. And that's the moment who led me to really embark in a self-discovery journey. And I discovered my passion for empowering professional immigrants that were going through similar situations like me. And I study mindset, I study NLP, I study emotional release, hypnotherapy, all of these things for my own growth. And I decided to become a coach now for this group of people that they really don't advocate for themselves because they don't use their voice, right? So that's why motivated me to create thriving mindsets because of that moment that I experienced. So it's something that devastated me, but also I think it was a great moment for me.
That's a perfect example, Sandra, of that moment, right? That moment when you stood up for yourself rather than just walking away and never really knowing why. And that was looked like a big transition for you. Um, I really, really like that. Nick, is there anything you'd like to share? And then we're going to close up the show after I thank our lovely onstage guests. Please, my dear.
I honestly want to thank them as well. It's been a great conversation. And, the more the merrier, the more perspectives, the more anecdotes. I think it lends to the conversation. And I can't wait to go back to the comments. There have been some incredible comments.
Yes.
If
Yes.
I seem a little distracted, I have sticky notes all around me right now. I have been taking notes because there have been some really good comments in there
Yeah. Yeah.
that I want to address. But, like we're up here on stage, but I mean, we could bring everybody up. Maybe we might crash StreamYard. But the point is, I see the comments and I'm going back to answer them because there's some really good ones in there. I just wanted to say that. And this has been such an enjoyable conversation. Um, and even though I have to go deal with some stuff now, I'm glad that I took this moment because I am one of those people that I do feed off of people's energy to some extent. And that's why I try to be a bit selective. Like Chris says, there's hot and there's radioactive.
I love
And,
that.
I've learned not to touch the hot stove, I'm just saying. But the radioactive, I hightail it. I'm like, yeah, leaders. Like, I don't need that energy. I really don't. Oh, and if my job asks me to come back tomorrow, I totally would want to go back for part time because I want to run my business. But like, if they'll give me like 2 days or something, but it has nothing to do with financial stability and everything to do with this has been a big adjustment. And I miss driving to work. I miss the team. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the shared vision. I miss the laughter. So I see good and bad. I think there is not bad, but there's the pros and cons in everything. And
Yeah.
we have to decide the balance and what works best for us. So.
Absolutely. And thank you, Nick, for persevering today and persisting. And, perseverance and persistence also maps to discipline. Yes. And discipline is one of the 7 levels of awareness. So, if you hang out here, you'll learn all these new things that you and pick one thing that you heard today. Maybe it's the one thing that Sharon mentioned, like when you get upset, okay, give yourself a time limit. You know, a lot of times we see posts that say, oh, well, here are 10 things that you should do, and here's 20 things of emotional intelligence. People don't do things like that. They do one thing at a time and get really good at it, because if you try to do them all, you're going to end up doing nothing. And that will not move you forward in conscious awareness. Figure it this way. When you came into this room today, you were at one level of conscious awareness of your infinite potential. When you leave, you will be at a higher level because you've now absorbed this information. And I want to thank all of you for being here. Now, Nick and I work out what we're going to talk about on Mondays, and we do want to hear from you. The comments stay with the video, so people that are doing watching it again or watching it for the first time, they're going to see all your comments. I'm especially grateful to Chris and to Sharon and to Sandra for coming up on stage and sharing your experiences, because each one of us has a slightly different perspective, just a slightly different perspective, but we don't know who you're going to resonate with today. You know, maybe you resonated with me, maybe you didn't today, but it was Sharon who you really resonated with, or you heard Chris talking about exchange of light. And you thought, oh, okay, that's pretty deep. Let me get to know this guy more. And then you have Sandra, who gave us the perfect example of this awakening moment, that she stood up for herself rather than just backing down. And then finally, I want to thank my co-host, Nicole, for being the epitome of perseverance today. It was not planned this way, that her whole world would be upset and shaken. Now she's managing through it, right? But we didn't know that this was going to happen, obviously. And yet she's one of those people who will make it happen. If there's any way, you will make it happen. And for me, the only time I don't show up if it's an emergency that only I can handle. But I will tell you this, that isn't even true anymore, because I have a torn right tendon in my right foot and a pinched nerve in my back because of because of the imbalance. And it's not easy getting around. But would I miss this? Did I miss sitting in the back room in the studio for Aaron Gibson's live? Did I miss Nick's audio room? No. Could I have? I could have. I could have told myself, well, you really need to rest, Leslie. But we just persevere. I'll leave you with this one quote that I'm paraphrasing that I think will help you and people you know who are blindsided with a disruptive work environment. And it was the first time I heard it was with Mary Mannon Morrissey, and she's a wonderful transformational leader and actually has sat with the Dalai Lama and is an acquaintance of mine. I won't say a friend, but I've known her for many years. And here's what she said. I hope I get this right. You can reach the top of Mount Everest taking baby steps. You just can't stop moving your feet. So you don't have to leap. There's no leaping. You can go taking itty bitty steps, but it's that forward momentum. Fear doesn't have much of a chance when you're in action. Once you get in action, fear doesn't have much of a chance. So as I will ask you, let's see, I don't even know how to move you back into, I'm going to move you back into the studio. And then, of course, you all can leave the way you wish. Just know how deeply appreciative both Nicole and I are that you came up to share with us, right, Nick? Right? Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're a little over here, and I'll take you out with the same song that we brought you in, with deep gratitude, everyone, and we will see you next Monday with another topic. Love having you here. Appreciate every one of you, and have a most amazing first week of March. I took my love, took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? How much I appreciate all of you for coming here on Monday mornings with us. Well, I've been afraid sometimes of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. All of you, what a great week. The sun is shining, and we have mind over matter. Remember, there's always a plus next to the negative. And if you've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you, remember that time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh, I'm getting older too. Take my love, take it down. Oh, climb a mountain and turn around. But take baby steps. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide bring it down. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide bring it down. Oh, the landslide bring it down. Bless you, my wonderful co-host, and all of you. Ending the stream now. Reach out if you need any help. We love you.